Today I'm going to talk about what to do when our children are fighting. I know that sometimes sibling fights can be a major source of stress, especially if their ages are, they don't have a big age gap. If they are in a tough stage, whether it's toddler years or teenage years, each stage has its own fights. Sometimes the parent feels like they're watching the same fight every single day and they're getting involved in the same fight, which is very stressful, and you don't want to take sides, you don't want to, and you're worried. Sometimes you're just worried, am I raising my kids, are they having a bad relationship, am I not able to help them bond in the right way? Well, actually, I think we all know that having sibling fights is very normal and natural. I'm sure everyone who had siblings remember some times in their lives where they were fighting a lot over who takes the room or who wears what or the toy or anything. Just sometimes very simple things would be triggers for siblings. And most of the time we just grow out of it. If relationships at home and family connection was healthy, we just grow out of it when time is right. But let's think together about ways to help, first of all, minimize the fights and how to handle them when they happen. Let's start by thinking of ways to minimize the fights. We want to try to avoid comparisons at home. We don't say, see what your sister did, look what your good brother did. Avoid labels as much as you can. Don't start saying this is the good one, this is the bad one, this is the hard one, this is the one who has always been difficult, this is the one who has always been easy. Even good labels in comparisons can be very stressful. So the kid who has always been, and maybe some of you as parents even relate to this, if you've been labeled as the good child or the easy child or the child who has always gotten things right, it becomes by time it becomes a source of pressure and stress. Because you always want to live to these expectations, and by time they actually become your own expectations of yourself. So let's try to focus on uniqueness, focus on how everyone is different in their own way, how everyone is, God has created everyone different and unique, and that we need to focus on ourselves and on our own skills rather than comparing with someone else. Another thing we want to make sure we're handling well at home is how we handle conflict in general at home. Do we have discussions? Do we talk? Do we solve problems? Or do we just fight and wait for things to solve themselves? Kids learn from us conflict resolution. So if the way we fight with them, most probably they're going to be using with their siblings as well. The way the husband and wife fight at home, they're learning from it much more than we can expect. So it's very important to be aware and mindful of how things are going at home, because they're picking up on it whether we want it or not. So when fights start to happen, first of all, we want to choose what fights do we want to get involved in, because if every time they're fighting and they come complaining, my sister did this, my brother did so, and we get up and go and solve the problem, two things happen. First of all, they get used to this and it becomes the only way things are resolved. The second thing that happens is that they don't learn to resolve their problems or challenges or fights. So we want to help them focus on problem solving, and we want them to, by time, be able to solve their conflicts with each other, especially with the small stuff. We have to interfere right away if we think someone is in danger, someone might hurt someone or get hurt. We have to interfere right away. But other than this, if it's a normal argument, having a problem with toys, who wants to do what first, we encourage that they solve the problem. If they want to come back for us to judge what should be happening or what we want them to do, it's always a good idea to ask them to think of solutions, and this way we're encouraging them to have problem-solving skills, and then tell it to us. If they still don't have these skills, we can do this together. So when they come and say, we both want to play with the same toy, for instance, we start asking them. First of all, we acknowledge how they're feeling. I understand that both of you want to play. I understand that you want to play right now. So let's think what we can do. And we start asking them, what do you think would be a solution, and hearing both sides. And it's very important to hear both sides. Sometimes, for instance, when they come because someone has hit the other child, or the other sibling, we only ask the child who has been hit what happened, while usually there has been two sides of the story and something has triggered the anger of the other child. So what I'm trying to say is the first step that is very important is to listen. Listen to both sides, and this is again a good practice for them to sit down and listen to each other. I know that we don't have this all the time and with all the fights, especially if we're outside home, but I'm talking about trying to make this most of the time. What's happening? Sit down, take turns to tell me what's happened. Acknowledge the feeling of each one. I understand you're frustrated, because I want them to learn to express their own feelings and understand how they're feeling when someone annoys them. So I get that you're annoyed. I'd be annoyed as well if someone took my toy without asking me or took something from me without asking me. I know you're very upset because your brother called you whatever. So you want to help them understand, and you want the other sibling to understand how they might be affecting the feelings of the sibling as well. Then, as we said, we're gonna work on problem solving. If they don't have the skills at the beginning, we ask them for suggestions, and if they don't have any suggestions, we start giving suggestions and they choose from it. If they don't want to play together, we can accept this as well. We say, maybe you're not ready now. Each one can play alone. If you don't agree on the toy, who's going to use it when, I'm sorry, I just have to take it away because it seems like you're both not ready to play with it for now. Please avoid the general punishments, like if someone did something wrong, everyone in the house is going to get punished. This is one of the reasons they get angry at each other. And one other suggestion, as we always try to focus on the positive rather than the negative, is to help them focus on the good things that their siblings are doing. So for instance, if we are trying to encourage a new rule or a new value at home, like for instance saying the truth. So if for instance one of our kids came to talk about how her brother said the truth, so we acknowledge saying the truth and we acknowledge that she came and said something good about her brother. So we encourage the positive behavior rather than only focusing on the negative behavior and the negative actions, because this usually helps them develop the new skills and get better results by time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time, inshallah.